it's up there.
Yeah. So we can go out and look at other.
Yeah, can I do? I'm sorry to hog it,
Yes,
but I think the Manning thing is very, very important. It's got to remember. I think.
The Manning. So that's
very.
So that kind of addresses our vandalism. Right. Go on, Alan.
Right. Can I ask a question first?
Yeah.
You said that Peter isn't opposed to doing a bit of tree demolition around the toilets.
Yeah.
Right. Would there be any objection to adding the small building to the toilets? Right? Well, bear me out.
Yeah.
We know that the loss of the mobile van has been greatly felt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
The weekend van.
If there's electricity and there's a water supply, presumably, to the toilets, if a small extension was built to it that sold snacks and drinks, okay?
Yeah.
They pay rent to whoever, like Peter Holt.
Yeah.
That person is whoever takes the lease is responsible for managing the toilets one way or another, if only to keep an eye on them. See, with all the best will in the world, the Wellington toilets, as you know, if you don't know, they're just down the road here. They run the risk of vandalism when there's nobody there, even though there's 20 people. And at the moment, it seems to be okay, doesn't it? But in the middle of the countryside, you've got no protection whatsoever. Now, it's just a thought that you could satisfy the council's objections to a mobile van not looking the part or whatever by building this extension to the toilets. It would be manned. In theory, it would give some protection to cars being on the car park as well. We don't know.
Yeah. But
that's one of the reasons a lot of people objected to the fact that the council reacted the way it did to the mobile van. It was keeping an eye on cars.
Yeah.
And it just strikes me as a reasonable solution at a minimal cost that might work. It's a business in effect.
Yeah, so it's a business.
It's a business.
Well, they wouldn't grant permission to the mobile van to stay there.
But you see, if the borough council can be brought on board, and Peter Holt, perhaps just some sort of contribution from the partnership to get it going, see how it goes. But to my way of thinking, if I would prefer to see some sort of visitor centre where the car park is at the moment, but accepting that that is an extremely expensive operation, and again would require more in the way of salaries to stock it, if you like, to man it.
Yeah.
It would be better to have that sort of solution, I must admit. But in the meantime, it's just a thought.
I think we should take a JCB to these old bogs and knock them down. And
no, sell the bricks.
And
a Wrekin brick.
And I think if the Shropshire Wildlife Trust is so keen, and everybody else is so keen, there's an interesting piece of land across the road which you now own, which would be an ideal spot because it's not enclosed. It's less vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's a good place for an interpretation centre. It's a good place for some toilets. It means the kids don't have to run across the road, to get to the toilets. It's already on that side where they can park.
Yeah, right.
It seems to me to make more sense to create something which you can manage and that's within your control, rather than rely on the shall we say dubious management capabilities of the local authorities. Besides which, I think the Wrekin has enough buildings on it as it is, and I'd be happy to see them all.
Are you talking about the donkey field?
No.
Where the Forest Bed was?
Yeah.
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 So
I mean, the Shropshire Wildlife Trust now own that strip of land between the quarry and the road. And that's a fairly sizable piece of land, and I would have thought it would make where the Forest Glen was would make a great. I mean, you're interested in interpretation, you're interested, and at least you could make 80,000 pennies a year.
There is a footing to the building at the bottom end of the Forest Glen car park behind boulders that hasn't been cleared. It's got part of the refurbishment of the existing building, yes, it makes the leasing arrangements much more straightforward for a single landowner, but it's a new development, so the money cost for the capital to build it will be much greater. If we can pursue both ideas to see which one has got legs, really. Yeah.
This is just lateral thinking, really, but I thought there was somebody said something a couple of years ago that Peter Holt had offered to use that field for both a car park and a toilet, and he would maintain it if it was built or something. That's just one thing. I mean, I haven't got.
That is in writing, yeah.
That is in writing.
He did say that, but
because maintenance is the thing. I agree with.
The last I heard of it is that he leased the field for a couple of years.
What, to somebody else?
Couldn't do anything with it for a couple of years, anyway.
Yeah. My only response, I suppose, to that is that we've got, with the old toilet block and the forest game, we have two brownfield sites. They're sites that have already been developed on, that we can redevelop. If we use the donkey field, then we're taking a field and we're developing it. And we actually create new development, which is, there was a point made earlier in the meeting about what are the threats to the Wrekin forest area. And the biggest threat to that is tiny, steady development. Little bits and pieces. Nothing major, but lots of tiny little bits, like the Lawley. Massive big houses and stuff. On the big map it's quite small, but it's quite pernicious. It creates extra roads, it creates extra drainage, it creates extra pylons for the power to feed that little area.
I've got another couple of points there.
Yeah, go on.
The other one is Tom.
Yeah.
You've already said he'd look after the interpretation board. He has said in the past he would look after toilets. I realise you've got to get up the hill first, but I mean, I do agree with our friend here that maintenance is, not so much maintenance, somebody watching it is so important.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, with a blunt edge weapon and forcing the borough just to open it up, we avoid the issue of how do we sustain it as a high quality experience. When you go to the loo, I remember there's a loo up in Covent Garden, it's absolutely gorgeous. In the Philharmonic pub in Liverpool, there's the most beautiful Victorian tiled toilet. The urinals are gorgeous. So it's a special experience, don't forget it. Now, if we don't man and look after this toilet, it'll be a horrible experience.
It was a horrible experience. I remember it. It was horrible. It was one of the worst toilets I've ever been to.
Two things. One really is a question, but the first one first. I'm pessimistic about the toilets, but is it not possible perhaps to fence around quite a secure fence with, if necessary, floodlighting, something like this? Or secondly, I don't know, forget toilets, at peak periods, I don't know how much it would cost to bring in mobile units.
Right.
Most of the week, I assume, not many people go up the toilet, it's only local. But perhaps just have them at weekends, you pull them in, bank holidays, you pull them in, you take them out at night, you need a secure area where they can be secured, and forget having a permanent building there. It could be turned into a visitor centre as well. I mean, you can get a whole range of different facilities.
One of the things
There are crowds there though every day.
Go on. What's that?
There are crowds of people there every day.
Every day.
Sorry, you don't want to destroy your exercise, but it seems to me the first thing is to set up the partnership and get the will to do it. Then you look at how you achieve it and what you need to achieve. Once you've got the partnership.
I think part of forming a partnership is you have,
Telling them what
you have
they're there for.
3 or 2 or even just one inspiring idea,
Right, okay.
and go sell it. What I really need is an inspiring idea that I can sell that's not ambiguous, that's not one thing or another. This is what we'd like to achieve, and we draw people into the partnership and have a commitment to it. I think with temporary, the issue of temporary, one of the solutions they suggested for one toilet in Bedfordshire, that it was retained but locked most of the year round unless the town had festivals or large events. and then it will be brought into which is what they do. Now my experience of Portaloos is I'd rather hold on till I got home because they're not very pleasant. They're easy to tip over by determined 13-year-olds, and it's not a pleasant job transporting around like it is.
Or being inside them.
But they are a solution. They are a solution to large-scale temporary events like festival or weekend events.
They're quite expensive as well.
Are they?
They're about £50 a day. Yes,
Right.
They would run into a lot of money.
Yeah. So one of the notions is, but the temporary part-time notion I think is an important one. If we want a staff manned tour